What up, Dokkanners? We are most likely within 5 days of the start of part 2 of the Global Dokkan celebration. And so far, we haven't had any news. So this video is merely just to discuss when we could potentially be seeing some news for part 2. The easy answer, any day now. Could be as early as tonight, tomorrow, a couple of days from now. So it's got to be within the next couple of days. That's the short answer. The longer answer, we're going to go over a couple of details here. Also, I do want to remind people that while it looks like it's going to be GT because of the infamous Omega Shenron leak, just keep in mind, I think we've been through this song and dance enough now over the course of Dokkan's history that you can never truly anticipate what Dokkan's next move is going to be. They have done so many stupid things. They have made so many bad decisions. They have screwed up in so many different ways that while this seems like it's going to be part 2 GT, there's always the possibility that this was a leak for something that's going to be happening down the road. Perhaps this is the Tanabata LR, if anything, you know? So just keep an open mind when thinking what's going to be coming up here. We are going to be operating under the assumption for the sake of this video that it is going to be GT, but there's always a chance it could be something else. So let's start with the basic here. So the reason why we know that July 24th is going to be when part 2 begins is because, as I mentioned in another video, the home screen graphic, that little banner that scrolls at the bottom of your game, the part 1 celebration graphic goes away on the 24th. That is also the same day that the discounts go away for the part 1 banners. That is also the same day that we are supposedly going to be receiving the Twitter stones, the stuff that you did, like if you authorized Bandai Namco's like root website, whatever, into your Twitter profile, and you would do all the like interaction farming through that. All of those things seem to be happening on the same day. So because of that, part 2 has to be starting on that day. What remains to be seen, however, if the banner actually drops at the same time as the start of part 2, which we talked about before. Looking back at the other celebrations like Worldwide last year, it was a 4-day gap between the start of part 2 and the actual banner's release. 9/9/11 p.m. was the start of part 2, and then 9/13/7 p.m. was the start of the part 2 banners. Not exactly a week, but it was a handful of days. This also in turn potentially opens up the window for when we could be getting news on part 2. Because if we look back at last year, part 2 started on the 9th. We got the news for what is to come, I believe, as early as the 7th. I think it was right here. Worldwide pre-stream broadcast part 2. Yeah, so there was the typo. They said it was going to be on the 11th. It was actually on the 10th, but they announced this on the 7th. So that was 2 days before the start of part 2. And in the case of last year, the start of part 2 wasn't the start of the banners. So it was 2 days before the start of part 2. It was actually 6 days before the start of the new banner. So if we were to consider all that, let's go back to this page right here. So July 24th, start of the part 2. So let's just say potentially July 28th, part 2 banners. Okay, not confirmed. This is just a what if, right? But if we follow suit with last year, that would mean July 22nd would be the announcement for part 2 video. Actually, that video ultimately dropped. Oh yeah, it was on the 10th morning. So after we already started, okay, so it was like half a day after part 2 began, we had the actual broadcast. So if that's the case, actually we should color code this. Let's color code this as one possible scenario. We'll make it the blue scenario. Okay, so this is all the blue scenario. Okay, so July 22nd would be the announcement for the part 2 video, and then we would do like July 25th. This is all in my time zone, so just keep that in mind. But it would be like part 2 broadcast, whatever. Okay, and then 3 days later would be the actual banners. That's if we followed suit with last year. But again, never apply logic to Dokkan. It could very well be that. It could very well be something else. Another way to look at it is by simply doing the common tactic for reverse engineering. Whenever a banner is to drop on a certain day, you basically subtract by 2, right? So assuming part 2's banner starts at the same time as the part 2 celebration begins, then that means the day before would be the day to download. We talk about this all the time in those other speculation videos, right? Data download would be 1 day before the actual celebration, but the day before that would be the Twitter reveal. Now, I don't think a celebration as high profile as the Global Dokkan celebration would really resort to these horrible tactics. Not horrible, but just lame, low profile tactics. Like, we have this all the time for normal celebrations. When it comes to big celebrations, we should be making a bigger deal out of it. We should be having build up. We should be having announcements well in advance. And so far we've had nothing. So I think as early as maybe tonight or tomorrow, which would be the 20th or the 21st, we could maybe get an announcement for what is to come. Hopefully we do, because at the very least for the last like 3-4 days, we'll have some sort of build up for what it could be. And again, we don't know necessarily what it's going to be, because if we look at the image that they showed here, this was the part 1 LR that they showed, right? So this does not reveal anything about the part 2. So they may not even, we may not know it's going to be GT until actually we get that broadcast. Maybe like the part 1 graphics are all, or the part 2 graphics so far at the beginning will be like part 1 stuff. I don't know. So that's all we got. I want to just make sure to get that stuff out there so that you guys aren't too concerned. We should be getting something very soon. I do remember when they did announce this on Twitter last year, a lot of people's responses were, I mean, I would show it, but there's a lot of bad words there. But a lot of the responses were like, finally some content, finally some news, finally some announcements. So this is just par for the course. Dokkan really is just bad at like pacing things sometimes. And it's very rare that we'll have a celebration where everything is 100% optimally placed. They're just not capable of that. So that covers pretty much the gist of the video, but I do want to do one more thing here, and I want to go over some basic level predictions, not fully finalized ones, because I want to wait until we actually see a little bit more. But assuming again that we're looking at GT, this is going to be my first set of predictions, my first iteration of predictions. So the Dokkan Festival is not going to be Omega Shenron right out the jump. Just because it shows that in this infamous image here doesn't mean it has to be the final form from the start. If you notice, the adjacent 2 characters, Tak LR Vegito Blue, and on the right side, Int Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks. Neither one of these Dokkan Festival units actually start out in those forms, but they are still the cover art for that album, and that's because they're the most high profile. So I think that means that it is definitely going to be Sin Shenron whenever this guy releases. So in the context of Global Dokkan Celebration, LR Sin Shenron that becomes Omega via the Dragon Ball collection mechanic. Only 2 other characters in the game possess such a mechanic, so it would be nice to have a 3rd unit have this. All credit goes to a couple of people in my chats during live streams. They proposed this idea to me. I did not come up with this one, but this is a great way to do it. This is a very good idea. The most notable and most powerful GT boss right now is the LR Carnival Omega Shenron. This guy is too new to automatically just be outright obsolete. And again, Dokkan does that sort of stupid thing, but I don't want this guy to be obsolete. He needs the help. So having Sin plus Omega, that would be optimal. That would be the best possible scenario. Then for the Carnival unit. So a lot of people have been thinking this one, myself included. I would love to see a unit where we start out as Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. And maybe for 4 turns or less, the fusion runs out. 4 turns would make the most sense, considering, you know, 4, the number 4, the wordplay and all that stuff. That would make the most sense. After that point, you switch down to these 2. So it's a reversible exchange. If you guys recall, when it comes to the reversible exchange mechanics, it usually takes 4 turns. Then you can swap between Goku and Vegeta, or the first character and the second character. And then their active skills are available. Some of those active skills include fusions. Instead, we start out with the fusion, we pay that off, and then once that's gone, we rely on this. I think that would be a great way to flip the script. It would also influence the type of content in terms of your strategy towards certain content, because you'd be starting out with basically a similar situation to when LR AGL Golden Frieza first came in. LR AGL Golden Frieza starts out with 90% damage reduction, which is great. Over time, unfortunately, the damage reduction wears off, which is an interesting way to approach an event, because you know that your tankiest character is going to become weaker and weaker over the course of the fight. So having these guys sort of resemble that same sort of scenario in the show would be, I think, a really nice touch. Goku's active skill could be the Universal Spirit Bomb, where he drops down into mini form. The Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta could revert back to his base form, and then maybe like Bulma gives him the Blutz Wave emission equipment and he goes Giant Ape or something and he attacks for 1 turn, something like that. That would be a really good way to make the Carnival Gogeta more interesting than just being a straight up fusion. Like straight up fusions are good and we would all like that, but then at the same time, I want characters to be designed well. I want the characters to run well. I don't just need the same character over and over and over. That's not to say that we don't have one of these. Like we should have one. We don't have a pure LR Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, but having something like this I think would be a nicer touch. Banner unit, Ice Shenron, because this is straight up bias. I like Ice Shenron. He's a coward. He's a jerk. He is cheap. I want him to be a summonable character, not just as an afterthought on a tag, or not a tag, but like a dual banner unit. Because we had the Tech, Nova, and Ice from the 8th anniversary. That was lame. I never use it. So give me like a full-on summonable Ice Shenron. Also, there's a free-to-play Ice Shenron. Can we get that guy to get a Dokkan Awakening? We have not had a Dokkan Awakening for one of those like Dokkan event drop characters in a while. I think the only one we had was the Frieza, right? This guy. Give him something. Dokkan Awaken him, please. And then the last thing, way to go out on a limb tune, I know. STR Omega Shenron, super easy, eh? That one's a pretty easy one. I mean, what else? What else could we get for super easy as? I think that's really the only super easy that is possible, unless they like jump all the way to this guy. Well, no, he doesn't even have his, no, this he doesn't have his EZA yet. No. I think that's the only one. And oh yeah, the AGL Super 17, but that's too soon. So it's gonna be this one. Maybe they could do some Dokkan Awakenings for free-to-play story event characters and stuff like that. Maybe this guy gets an EZA. This Super 17 Dokkan Festival is too soon, so he probably shouldn't. This guy, however, could definitely get one because he's the banner unit to the 7th anniversary Super Saiyan 4s. And we all know how their EZAs went. So yeah, those are my predictions, early predictions. We'll go over like leader skills and whatnot in a couple of days once we get a little bit more information, hopefully. Because I don't want to go through the thought of like doing all that just to have it be Namek Saga for part 2 or something. I don't know. The last thing that I want to do in this video is talk about a concept post that I saw as I was curating all of these pages for the sake of the video. So big shout out to Hitku, leader skill GT Baus, Inhuman Deeds transformation boost 170%, extra stats plus 52, Battle of Fate in full power. This is what we're going to have to expect. Like whenever we get that unit, it's going to be a combination of some good categories. Actually, one good category and then a couple of duty categories. GT bosses is duty, but you have to have that category in there because we need to be able to assemble teams under this leader skill that fit that category. There's not too many, so that's why the other category leads are going to be great here. Also, we have Inhuman Deeds and Battle of Fate. So that was the other thing. Yeah, I like this because unlike the Rosé Carnival unit, this Dokkan Festival will still include the Rosé from part 1, which is good. More Big Bad Boss connection, and you know, that rotation can be Future Saga. This rotation can be GT. That'd be pretty nice. Raise attack for 1 turn, causes colossal damage. Greatly raises attack permanently. Greatly raises defense for 1 turn, causes mega colossal damage. And then for the passive, oh, we got the Dragon Ball effect. Okay. Create 7 Dragon Balls, 77% damage reduction for 1 turn. Wow. Okay. Key plus 7 attack and defense plus 250%. Guards all attacks. So far, this is very LR 7th anniversary Super Saiyan 4's like. Randomly changes key spheres of a certain type excluded into rainbow. When attacking, attack and defense plus 170%, defense plus 170% with 17 or more key. I like the number play here. 7, yeah. For every Dragon Ball obtained by the character, all enemies attack and defense minus 70% within the turn. Oh my god, that's the Tech Goku Black Rose clone thing, but on a whole nother level. Imagine you pick up 5 Dragon Balls in 1 turn with this guy. That's 350% drop. Is that even possible? Because I know like when you're permanently stacking stuff, Dokkan puts the limit at 99 turns. Is there a limit for how low a threshold this stat dropping can be? Proton, if you're watching, let me know, because that is insane to think about. Just imagine picking up all 7. That's almost 500% attack and defense down. That would be the single biggest nerf ever. That might be too much. For every rainbow key sphere obtained, launches an additional attack that has a high chance of becoming a super attack. Extreme class allies key plus 1 attack and defense plus 10%. Oh, right. For every rainbow key sphere. So that could be key plus 5. attack and defense plus 50%. And you could be launching 5 additional attacks, each one having a 50% chance of being a super, okay? Transforms after obtaining all 7 Dragon Balls once only. Yes, that is how I would imagine this is going to work. Brutal Beatdown, Big Bad Boss, GT, Shadow Dragon, Sphere and Faith, Fierce Battle, Legendary Power. In the context of the Global Dokkan Celebration LRs, Big Bad Boss, Fierce Battle, Legendary Power, at least those 3 links will be firing, which means you get your 25% defense, you get a bunch of attack here. So this should be pretty good. And then let's end the video by checking out the Omega Shenron. So this guy raises attack permanently, causes Colossal, greatly raises attack permanently, greatly raises defense for 1 turn, causes Mega Colossal damage to the enemy, raises allies' chance to crit by 20% for 2 turns. Oh, wow. Okay. Key plus an attack and defense plus 300%. Receives an additional key plus 3 for Rainbow Key Sphere or Int Key Sphere obtained. Guards all attacks. Wow. Chance to crit and damage reduction 50%. Randomly changes key spheres of a certain type, int excluded to rainbow. See, I'll just say what I like about this so far is that this guy is unhinged. Like he does a lot and he's very good. You can afford to make a character like this incredibly good, considering the main category that he's destined to be run on sucks. And eventually, when that category catches up, the events in the game would collectively also increase in difficulty, meaning that you're still not, you're not guaranteed 100% success. For every, wait, where was I? When attacking, attack and defense plus 170%. When receiving an attack, defense plus 170. Oh, all that on top of 50% damage reduction, guard, attack and defense plus 300%. Damn, all right. For every key sphere obtained, recovers 3% health. Chance to crit and damage reduction plus 7% up to 27. Interesting, 27. Okay, so that would be three bumps here because 4 times 7 is 28. Okay. For every rainbow key sphere obtained, launches an additional attack that has a great chance of becoming a super attack. Extreme class allies key plus 1. Oh, that stings. Where are the other? Oh, okay. Key plus 1 for 2 turns. All allies. I see what you did there. So you split that up. You made the key just for extreme, and then you brought this down to everybody. That's a nice touch. A lot of the decisions that are being made when crafting this passive, very much like a Dokkan mindset, like these are some of the things that you would see Dokkan do. 7% increments up to 27, just shy of the next tier. High chance of launching additional supers, very Dokkan coded. 2 or more rainbow key spheres obtained, great chance of stunning. There you go. 4 or more rainbow key spheres obtained, interrupts the attacked enemy. Oh, disables enemy actions, so you have 1 free cancel. Nice. Active skill, raises attack temporarily, causes ultimate damage to the enemy. Attack plus 17% in battle, defense plus 777%. Directs attacks towards the character for 1 turn. Oh, target focus effect. Okay. Target focus effect on top of the Dragon Ball Orb collection. Very nice. Okay. And then same thing goes for the links. So I'll just say, in my professional opinion, I dig it. I think that this concept looks pretty cool. Again, I don't see too many concepts out there, but I like what I'm seeing here. A lot of Dokkan sort of decisions when making the character. But again, this guy, in my opinion, can be as broken as they want because his categories stink. And the amount of options you're going to have running this guy with others is going to be limited to an extent. But I think in that you are allowed to make these characters a little bit better. That's the trade-off. Limited categories, great performance. A character that fits every possible scenario, every possible team, every possible whatever, shouldn't be at the same level because that's just too strong. Balancing issues. Anyway, that's it. Yapping over. Hopefully you get some news tonight and we can begin the real predictions. Not just this, but we can go into typings and leader skills and whatnot. Hurry up, man. Give us something. I didn't used to agree because I think people were a little too premature when they said that, this celebration's looking kind of dry. It's starting to now feel a little weird that it's been quite a few days now since we haven't had any sort of build up to part 2. Make it right. Do it now. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like down below. Let me know in the comments. Number 1, if I said anything that was complete gibberish. I am somewhat sleep deprived when recording this, so let me know. But then number 2, and more specifically, what are your thoughts on the potential lineup that they're going to be announcing? When do you foresee the announcements taking place? Do you think it's going to be tonight? Do you think it's going to be in a couple of days? Do you think it's going to be right before part 2 begins? Do you think the banners are going to be dropping right as part 2 begins? Or do you think that one's also going to be staggered for a couple of days? Let me know your thoughts, your ideas, your predictions in the comments down below. Also be sure to subscribe for more no content in the future and click the notification bell so that you let YouTube know you want to see more of us. Do it. Thanks again. Stay tuned in ours to Dokkan responsibly.